Hi everybody, Tug here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new game called Emberlight. Emberlight is a true roguelike dungeon crawler set in a world where the gods have given you a great gift and a great curse. You can explore procedurally generated dungeons as a Knight of the Ember Order, conquer quests set out before your party, and uncover the lore of the land. You grow in strength by absorbing abilities from slain enemies and collecting powerful traits off of dungeon bosses. You can become strong, become quick, become immortal. That's basically the synopsis of what the developer Quarter Onion Games lays out for what to expect in Emberlight, and overall it's pretty accurate to what you're going to find. You're going to find a procedurally generated dungeon crawler. It is a no-nonsense combat simulator, basically, with some pretty fun mechanics, and honestly, it's not bad. I had some fun with it, and I think it's definitely a game that I'll be jumping back into again and again. So first thing right off the top that I need to disclose is that I was given the key to this game for free in exchange for creating some media about it. So that is what this video is. So full disclosure there. You can or cannot believe that it's not going to impact how I feel about the game one bit. That's not how I work. I had a lot of fun with the game, but it has some flaws. So let's start looking at the game and see what we can find and dive into the meat of Emberlight. One of the most interesting and kind of dynamic elements that Emberlight brings is the ability by which you learn new skills and traits. You learn them from enemies. You learn them by being hit by them. You go through being clobbered by different enemies, like these wolves, and after they have used an ability on you a few times, you'll see it pop up in the learned abilities section, and you can then, after completing this particular stage, drag it down and apply it to one of your heroes, and use that ability for yourself going forward throughout the game. Very reminiscent of the map in Darkest Dungeon. The map for each floor in Emberlight has the room-by-room layout, where you have to follow a certain path to get through. Now, in a big difference from Darkest Dungeon, Emberlight's map gives you full knowledge of everything that is upcoming, whether it's a fight, whether it's a treasure room, whether it's a healing fountain, or a camp. And honestly, I think that is actually a detractor. I think it actually takes some of the tension out of the game. One of the scariest things about Darkest Dungeon is the unknown. One of the scariest things about roguelikes is the unknown. And while each floor is going to be procedurally generated, it's going to be a different arrangement of rooms with a different arrangement of enemies, being able to see that from the moment you enter the floor, being able to plan out your route, being able to push a little harder because you know a healing fountain is coming up, that honestly takes a little bit of the edge off of what is kind of a fun combat system. And I would like to see the developers change that aspect. Now is a good opportunity to talk about boss fights. Boss fights make or break a game. There can always be engaging yard trash, there can always be fun encounters, there can always be environmental hazards, puzzles, and other manufactured things that can pad out your gameplay. There are fun elements to games that are not boss fights, but boss fights are what your game is remembered for. Everyone remembers those big boss fights. Everyone remembers the first time they faced Bowser in a Mario game. Everyone remembers the boss fights from Witcher 3. They don't remember any of the 16 million drowners that they killed. So let's talk about boss fights in Emberlight. They're okay, and I think that's the kindest I can be. One of my biggest issues in game design is when developers ramp up difficulty through simply stacking on hit points. Now, in this example, it may have just been RNG, it may have just been the procedural generation that gave me this boss, but I kind of had the same experience throughout even the mini-bosses that I fought, is that they got one or two abilities, typically a heal, on top of just being a sack of hit points. At no point was this boss physically threatening to me. It didn't do enough damage to cause me any fear, and that's playing on hard, where I can't use any status effects. I can't stun him, I can't slow him, I can't do anything to him. So on a normal difficulty, it would be even easier. Now, there's something to be said for adding a sack of hit points onto somebody. That's fine. But if you add a sack of hit points, plus give them a damage shield, plus give them a self-heal, then all it does is make the combat take forever. This particular encounter took me something like 11 minutes to get through, and at no point did any of my characters go below 50% health. I think I only got hit maybe twice, but it just became a matter of sitting there, self-healing, doing basic attacks, and waiting for my one ranger character, the Smoke Shrouded, to be able to strip off his buffs and rinse and repeat, do a few hundred points of damage of his 7,100 points of health to just kind of chip away at him, which is, yeah, okay, that's thematic for a golem style creature, but it just felt bland. There could be so much more done. There are so many cool abilities, there are so many cool debuffs, there are so many cool buffs, damage shields, damage reflections, spells, and just different fun things, and I feel like, at least with this boss and some of the other ones that I fought, really kind of all of the ones that I fought, none of them felt unique. This is the closest one that felt anything near being unique. Because it had some golem-specific abilities, like a self-heal ability reflection, which forced me just to auto-attack it for a few rounds, which, again, just feels like a method of padding out its hit points and making the fight last longer artificially. It's not that it wasn't fun. It was definitely engaging, and there was some mechanics that were there that were fun, like forcing my ranger character to strip off his buffs every time he put them up. But the problem with that, this fight would be practically impossible if I did not have a character who had learned that ability, and that becomes inherently unfair and unfun. Now, granted, it's a roguelike, that's gonna happen, but this just felt like a strong miss from me. Now, when I first played the game, when I first dove into Emberlight, I kind of bounced off it. I played it for about 15 minutes and was not enamored. I was thrown right into combat. I didn't really understand what was going on, and through this playthrough I gave it a little bit more time, and I made it through an entire run. And I found it to be much more engaging after that. I got a better grasp of the systems, a better grasp of everything. But it also allowed some more flaws that I hadn't noticed the first time to shine through. Make no mistake, this is a fun game. If you enjoy turn-based combat, if you enjoy roguelikes, if you enjoy dungeon crawlers, and if you just want to have fun, challenging, varied combat encounters, without having to worry about being padded out by an in-depth story or anything, and you just want to mindlessly grind through mobs, 10 out of 10. This is the game for you. You will have a blast with it, and each run will be unique, because you're always going to have different combinations of abilities that could make you super powerful, or make you super bad. But really, it's a fun game, but it feels rather shallow. The developers made a pretty fun and dynamic combat system, and just turned it into a game. I feel like a lot more could be done with it, but as it stands now, I think it is a solid way to spend some time. I think it's a great way if you struggle with turn-based combat systems in other games, if you struggle with the different mechanics and styles of games like this. I think this one has the pace and the capacity to help you learn to be better at it. So that was my quick first look at Emberlight. It's a pretty fun roguelike dungeon crawler that has, in my eyes, a lot of similarities to something like Slay the Spire, where if you have 30 to 60 minutes, you can sit down and do a run. If you're looking for a pure combat experience, if you're looking for just something to help improve your turn-based combat, it's a perfect opportunity for that. While it does have some flaws, I would like to see a hidden map. I would like to see perhaps maybe a scouting mechanic where you can risk reward for getting ambushed or something for trying to scout ahead on the map and exposing stuff. That would be a lot of fun. And I would like to see a little bit more dynamic mechanics for boss fights. But the one thing that I can say, between when I was initially given the key to this game and tried it the first time to when I played it now, it has improved significantly, and most of those improvements have been in response to what early testers and players have given as feedback. So Quarter Onion Games has been very responsive and pretty quick in adding in and changing things to what players have recommended. So it looks like it's something that's only going to get better over time. And if you look at games that are sitting in that $15 price point, this one's a pretty solid recommendation from me because it's gonna get good replay. I'm probably gonna end up putting over 20 hours into the game, I would guess. So to me, that's a good price for time commitment. So honestly, overall, it gets a recommendation with the caveat that don't go into it expecting anything more than just some fun combat. So that's where we're going to leave it for now. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked this format of video, if you would like me to do more of the videos in this manner, let me know in the comments down below. And, well, it's YouTube, so if you liked it, like it, smash that subscribe button, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do. So hopefully I will see you on the next one.